Hi, I'm George Pearson, and in this video we'll be correcting camera distortion in Photoshop Elements, going from this up to that. Now if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button and share, and of course subscribe. Also take a look at my complete training course for Photoshop Elements, and there's a link for that right down there in the description. Okay, let's get to it. To correct camera distortion like this requires a few tools and a few different steps. Nothing is too difficult, but you will need to know the right steps and the right sequence to get this done, to go from this kind of weird bent image up to a nice straight image like that. Okay, let's see how this is done. I'm going to just delete all the layers up here and get back to the original photograph. There we go. There's the original photo. Now I'll be using this as large as I can get here on the screen, just to make it so you can follow along as easily as possible. There we go. The first thing we need to do is to get rid of this fisheye effect. See the twist there in the ground and kind of a weird shape on them and this weird tilt back? That's a bit of a fisheye effect happening. So for that, we're going to start by first making a copy of the original background. There we go. And we'll do all of our work up here, leaving the original bent image alone. This is our safety layer. Just in case things go wrong, we can always come back and make another copy from this background layer. So once your copy is made, let's go up to Filter and come down to Correct Camera Distortion, a great place to start. Now in here, a few things to set up. One, you can zoom in if you want to with the zoom control here, or you can zoom out using the little buttons right down there. So you can zoom in and out right here. Notice this grid on there. You can really see it up here in the sky very easily. That's this checkbox right down there. So you can just show that grid. If the grid disappears, if it's too hard to see it, you can change the color if you want to down here. Just click on that color and choose a different color. I'll leave it as is. I think this is okay. You can also make this a little bit larger by actually pulling this corner out and making the whole window larger. We can now zoom in a bit more here. There we go. What I care about mostly here is the ground. So just come down to the ground like that. If we get the ground straightened out, everything else will look much, much better. Several sections here. Remove distortion. We'll be using this one to fix this fisheye effect. Vignetting we don't care about. That's if your corners are too dark or too light. You can try to adjust that. There's a perspective control here, vertical and horizontal, and also an angle. We'll do a little bit of this. And there's an edge extension. We're not going to be using that. Okay, we'll start up here with the remove distortion. If I go to the left, you see it gets even more of a fisheye effect in there. If I go to the right, it gets less. Now you can really see this down here in the bricks at the bottom. That's what you want to look at. Here we want to get those bricks pretty straight. You can see, kind of see a guideline right there, right next to that line of bricks. That's pretty good. You'll never get it perfect on any image, but get it as close as you can, and I think that is real nice, and that's plus 11 here on remove distortion. You can see there it is before and after. So it's kind of pushing that middle part back a little bit. So it's getting rid of a lot of that fisheye effect right there. Now everything's kind of tilted off to the left-hand side. If I drew a line here between the corners of the building, so it's really tilted off to the left, and those are tilted off to the left. And it's also a bit kind of weird on our vertical perspective. I'm going to zoom back out just a touch, get more of a full view in here. So let's start off with a little bit of a vertical perspective in here. If I go to the right, it tilts it back, and that makes things worse. If I go to the left, it tilts that building forward a little bit, and that actually gets better. We don't want to go too far with this yet. We'll do more of that a little later on. Now everything's twisted to the left. You can see that. So you need to bring it over to the right a little bit. And if you take this little handle here, you can actually twist your image around. There you go. We want just a little bit, so I'm going to put in 3 over this image. You can see here, there's the corners of the building. That's almost a pretty good. Let's try a 3.5. It's just a little bit better. And that looks pretty straight on the roof line in here. Now notice that the lines down below here have gone a little bit weird again. They're not really straight any longer. That's okay. We already straightened those out, so we're fine down there. So that's looking pretty good. We can do a horizontal perspective as well. Little shift here, left or right. So everything here kind of moved a little bit. So if I pull this to the right just a little bit, I can get the bricks looking a bit better. Again, I don't want to go too far on this. There we go, about plus 17, and that straightens the bricks out again. So the building is pretty well straight. We've taken care of that fisheye distortion. Everything's looking pretty good. It's not perfect yet, but it's pretty good. It's not too bad. As you can see a little bit right down here off the edge of the picture, that's where you would use edge extension. If you're happy with this, if this is all you want to do, just do just a little bit of that and make the image just a little bit larger, and you'll then get rid of that little bit. But for now, this is good. And again, on this picture, I'm doing remove distortion plus 11, vertical perspective minus 9, and horizontal perspective plus 17, and a 3.5 degree angle shift. If it all looks good, click on OK. And there we go. See how we're doing right now? I'll just bring our background up, and already looking a lot better in there. I'm going to zoom out just a touch here, like that, and see if we can get the building looking even better at this point. Now to do this, we want to put a grid in here on top of this image, make it easier to see. So go up to the View menu and come down to Grid, and there's a grid in here. This will help you to line things up properly. And this is just for this one step. And for this, I want to straighten the church out and see if we can get the windows a bit more vertical. I won't go totally vertical on those. We'll see how good we can get, how close we can get on that. And for this, we'll be using a special tool up over here, Image, Transform, and Distort. What this does is it gives you control handles on the sides and at the corners, top and bottom. The interesting thing about this is you can grab the corners in here, and you can actually pull these corners anywhere you want, like that. You can come in here and do a real big, huge shift. So I can use this to kind of straighten things up a little bit. Now I'm going to pull it out a bit. Notice as I pull this out, the windows get straighter. Just pull the right one out a little bit, and that begins to straighten the windows out. And it's looking a little bit nicer in there. Let's pull the bottom in a little bit for a little more straightening. This also corrects some of the squishiness of the building. It's no longer as kind of flat looking. So pull the bottom in a bit, not too far on the left, just a little bit more on the right. And that's pretty good. So it's now pretty straight. It's a little bit off to the right side a bit here, kind of getting off center, but that's not too bad. Now the church isn't exactly lined up yet. I'm going to take this middle control here and just pull this to the left a little bit. And we can use that to get that church straight up and down. I'm looking at this center line here, and it's going through the top of the door now, through this peak, and through that top of that spire. There it is. That's just about exact right there. So that's now nice and straight as well. So let's look at the corners of our building. Okay, it's just below this line, just below that same line. That's nice and straight as well. It looks like we're a little bit tilted in on this one window. Let's see if we can fix that with this top just a touch. And that looks better. Can't really do too much there. Everything else begins getting just a little bit weird. And there we go. I think our building is now nice and straight at this point. The center line's all nice and lined up. Everything else looks good. There's a little bit of excess stuff down here and over here, as you can see. We'll fix that real easily. So there's our nice straightened out building. Choose OK. We can now hide that grid. And let's see how we did. So here's our before, and here's the after. So that's pretty good. We've taken care of all of the distortion now, before and after. Nice and straight. But we have these problems left and right. I'm going to hide that background. You see there, had this bit over here and this bit over here. we can fix that stuff with our background image in here. I'll take this background, make a copy of that. And now if I move this copy around, I can get that positioned again. So it kind of fills in that stuff. It fills it over here pretty well. It's not quite in the right spot on the right-hand side yet. So let's go back to that image, transform, and distort. I'll grab the bottom right corner. Let's see if I can just pull this around until the bricks line up pretty well. Right about there. So that's a good line here. It's a little off left-hand side. Let's just do a little shift down. That looks fine now. We're good here. It looks good over in there. I think we're okay. And choose OK. All right, just a few little things left to do. We need to fix any line that's showing here, fix the line that's showing here, and there's some weirdness right back there with that planter, and of course in the tree and bushes as well. Let's take care of the left side first. So we'll zoom in on that and just kind of scroll up here and over. A little more zoom. You can see here this pot here is cut off at that side just a bit, and the bricks don't exactly line up. Let's fix the bricks first, and then we'll do something about this pot as well. So to fix this bit in here, I'll use the clone stamp tool, and let's go up here to the top image. This is our foreground image, which is the right hand side, and I want a soft edge brush. That looks good. Let's try 65. That's okay. Come in here someplace, hold the Alt key down, and click for a position, and then pull it over so you kind of see the line there. Just pull that over until it lines up properly, right there. And just pull straight down. That just copies your bricks over, and that fixes that a little bit right there, and that's all taken care of. Bricks are fixed. Okay, let's see what we can do about this little oddness right in here. We'll zoom in further on that. Now use the same trick on this side and on the other side as well. It's a little bit weird right here. We can fix that right now also with the clone stamp tool. So go to our clone stamp. It's a bit too large. I'll bring the size down about half of that, about 35. That's better. Same thing, hold the Alt key down, find a spot here, and then match it over here. And then just clone that up a little bit. And that's fine there. And let's do some clone stamp on the bushes in here. Fixes that. Let's now fix that left side of this. I'm going to go right here, kind of in the middle of this. Click and pull straight down. You want to be straight down through the middle of the vase. It's kind of at a weird angle, so just visualize that. What I'm doing is I'm looking at this line over here, because that's the vertical on this image, on this bit. So I'll just pull this straight down and then come around the base and do a nice little selection right around this edge here. And take your time on your selection. This is where you want to be careful and do as nice of a job as possible. And just pull it clear around and back to your starting point. There we go. Now, go up to Layer, come down to New, and then New Layer via Copy. And you get a copy up there. Let's just grab that copy. There it is. Let's now flip this left to right, and that's Image, Rotate, Flip Layer Horizontal. There we go. Now it's kind of a weird angle, as you can see here. So let's fix the angle. And again, this is back to that nice Distort tool right here. And I'll pull this up just a bit. Don't worry about that jaggedness. This will go away. So that's kind of in the right position now. Just visualizing it in here. And choose OK. Down just a touch. Okay, the top looks good. The bottom's a pretty good match. We just have this line in here. We need to fix that. And that's, again, that clone stamp tool. Now keep in mind that this is the piece that's on top of this piece. So to fix that bit where one's on top of the other, we're going to merge this layer down with that layer right below. So hold the Control key down, click on the name, and then come down to merge layers. They're now just one layer. And if I show and hide that, we'll get our preview back again. Now it's all one layer. So we can then come in here and do a clone stamp. I'm going to make my brush size a bit smaller again. That's better. Hold the Alt key down, choose a spot, and then just come over here and just kind of quickly go right over that central seam in here just to clean that out. And there we go. That's fixed. Okay, let's go back to fit on screen. Left side is fixed. It all looks good. Let's now check our right hand side. A lot of weird stuff going on over here. It's the same kind of problem, but it's much more pronounced. Just make this as big as we can down here. So you got really weird stuff in here with the bricks. It's kind of off center up here. There's a big problem with the vase right in there. And then some stuff in the bushes. Let's fix our bushes first. Clone stamp tool. Larger brush size this time. Let's bring our brush size up. That's pretty good. Alt key and click, and then just paint over like that. Do it a few times. There we go. And just kind of clean that stuff out a bit. It's pretty good for the bush. Let's see how this goes up here. I'll just follow the edge of the bush down like that and get that cleaned up in there. That's fine. Little weird right here, but not too bad. It won't take more than just a couple little spots like that to fix these things. I think we're okay there. And a little weird up here. I'll just grab some of this tree and just pull that in. There we go. That should hide that very nicely. Okay, it's kind of duplicating in here, so just mess things up a little bit so you lose any sense of duplication. You don't want to have any of that going on. Okay, that's good, and the rest of that is fine. So we're okay all the way down to this and down to our bricks. Let's do our bricks first. Same trick. I'll come way over here to this brick right here. Hold the Alt key down, click right on that corner, this line and that edge right there. Let's pull that over. Now it's red to the left and gray to the, or actually red to the right and gray to the left. Looks like the spot is right in there. And let's just do this and replace those bricks with the other bricks. And just take it all the way down to the bottom. It's a little funky right in there. There we go. That fixes it. Okay, so that takes care of those bricks. That's fine. Let's fix the walkway. Go over here. Click right there. Pull that over and just take the walkway straight across. That's fixed. Now let's take care of this weirdness right in there. Okay, for this, let's just first see what we have on our original image. And that's that bit. It's a bit more. We lost a little bit of that when we were doing our changing things around. So let's just copy this piece out here. Now we're clear on the edge. So I'll grab the polygonal lasso tool again. Let's zoom in. Okay, about like that's pretty good. Polygonal lasso. Let's make a quick selection around this. And I'll start over here someplace by the edge. And I'll come out just a little ways like that. We'll clean the edge up with a layer mask. And come down. Now we're past the middle point, so I can just go over here and back to our, kind of cross over that, double click. There we go. Let's copy this. Make sure on the background layer, there it is. And then layer, new, via copy. And then pull this straight up to the top. And let's show that layer again. Okay, we can now back out just a little bit on our zoom. And there is that copied piece right here. So go ahead and just put this in place. It's a little cleaner. It's a little better there on the right hand side. Let's go just a bit over that. We'll clean up that edge as a last step. Let's bring that piece back in again. This is that stuff on the right hand side here. We did that on this background piece right there. Okay, looks good. Let's take this layer, just make a duplicate of this layer. There we go. Let's flip that layer horizontal. Go up to Image, Rotate, and flip layer horizontal. There it is. And then just match that up so it's pretty close. I think right around here looks pretty good. About like that. Let's clean up our angle on this one. And that's Image, Transform, and Distort. And I'll pull the right side down just a bit. And that looks like right about there. Looks pretty good. And choose OK. And that's pretty close. Let's see. Just kind of eyeballing it in. And that looks pretty good. Okay, need to clean up the bottom just a little bit. We're going to merge these two together. So hold the Control key down, click on the second layer. These are these two vase layers in here. Right click, merge layers. They're now one layer. We can now clean things up just a little bit on both of those. So we'll zoom in on the bottom. So first part I want to fix. That's right down here. Let's go over to the Clone Stamp tool again. Want a pretty small brush. Looks like mine right now is at about 18. That's good. And then come right down here. Hold the Alt key down and click on this bottom section right there. And pull it straight over. So we can just clean up that bottom edge. That's pretty good. And then I'm just going to grab a few things in here and clean up that line. Right in there. Looks good. And see if we can get this little spot right there. That's good. And then a little touch up right there. And there we go. That's fixed. And just a little bit right in here just to help hide that one seam. And then let's do a little bit in here. Actually down on this layer. There we go. Just a little bit right here. There's a little bit of that seam still showing. I can fix that. Okay, it's kind of weird. Little bend in there. Let's see if we can do a better job on that. I'm going to grab this piece right over here and copy that in. And then copy a little bit from right here. Just kind of cut and pasting little pieces until we have a good looking edge. Okay, looks good. Let's now back out and see how we've done. Maybe just a touch more right there. Okay. Fit screen. That looks good. That looks good. We fixed the ground. Let's zoom back in real quickly here and just do a last little check of the edges right around this flower pot. Looks pretty good actually. We could use just a little bit of cleanup right around here and right around there. For that, let's just put a layer mask on this layer. And then using a black small paintbrush, there's our paintbrush. And I'll bring the size down just a bit. About 10 pixels and black. And then just come in here, just kind of edging them on the layer mask side there. Just bring that in just a little bit right up next to the pot. Don't paint into the pot itself, just right around the edge, just to help blend in that edge that we made in there in with our background. Just a little bit of touch up right around there and a little bit right up in here. Okay, nice little cleanup then. Again, just using a layer mask for that cleanup. We can now zoom back out again. I think we're done. It all looks nice. Let's now see how this looks. The last step you want to do on this kind of a project where you have several layers all working together, you want to merge all of this stuff onto a new layer. So hold the Control-Shift-Alt key down and then tap the E key. That merges all this stuff onto a new layer. Let's now hide these layers. Leave the background open. That's the original. And let's show and hide and see how we did. There's the original. And there's our fix. So original, lots of distortion, and fixed. camera distortion all taken care of. So there you go. That's how you can fix camera distortion in Photoshop Elements. As you saw, it requires a few tools. Let's just quickly look at those one last time here. Filter and correct camera distortion is where you want to start out with, and use the one here to get rid of any fisheyeing problems. You can adjust your perspective a bit with this stuff. This won't fix everything, but it'll get you close. If that's enough, you can use the edge extension to hide any little edges that might be showing. In our case, we just took it as far as we could here, and then we finished everything off using the image, transform, and distort right there, and then of course doing some stuff to fill in our edges with the clone stamp tool. So there you go. That's how to correct camera distortion in Photoshop Elements. If you enjoyed this project, don't forget to hit that like button and also share. Just click on share and share with your friends. Also subscribe if you haven't already done so, and take a look at my complete training course for Photoshop Elements, where I'll show you how to use everything in the program and you'll become a Photoshop Pro in no time flat.